Good morning, everyone. I have Robert White with me, and he is in Colorado. So I just said to him, I got him up a little early, not too bad. But Robert is an author, a leadership trainer, an executive mentor, and he teaches the art of science, teaches the art and science of mastering executive challenges. So got to know what that's about. He specializes in integrating a heart-centered, result-oriented, and transformational leadership approach to being effective. Um, so I just need to, dive right in. And I always say that I get bios and I like to read like a little bit of what people tell me to say, but I really turn the page right away and I say, tell me who Robert White is and tell me really what do you do so we can just dive in because I love the written word of a bio, but who am I talking to today?
I'm glad that I went to this effort and you ignored it. Sorry.
No, I didn't ignore it. It's all on our post.
It's in the computer. I got it. Look,
it's been promoted, but here you are. Tell me who you are.
Look, I'm most of all, I'm a father. I am a leader. It took me a long time to claim those words. In my book, Living an Extraordinary Life, the reaction of some friends after they read it was, "Oh, I love your book, but I'm disappointed." And of course, I said, "About what?" And they said, "Because it's not about you, and it's not. It's about the over 1 million graduates from companies that I founded and led." However, and their interaction with our material but their stories. And I think that's kind of why the book has done well. This is not about me. One chapter is about me, and it doesn't say that in the book, so we'll reveal that secret here, which is the chapter's called "The World's Most Limiting Belief," which is you are not enough. And I spent a large part of my life dealing with feeling I was not enough. I was not disciplined enough. I was not smart enough. I was not educated enough. I was not enough. And so that's part of who I am, is my work on myself to move through that and accomplish some things in life and build a life. So that's a big part of me, is the guy that's not enough. Started out as, what is the comedian's expression, poor, but poverty stricken. And, bounced out of the university after one semester. But I've had this amazing, extraordinary life that I celebrate most of the time. And that's part of who I am. I have some life experience that I share with others that seems to be a benefit.
And who's an ideal candidate to come see you and talk to you and work with you?
In retrospect, when I look back on my history, I work with executives there in one of two camps generally. The first one being they are up against something. They've got an issue. They kind of know that they're at the heart of the issue personally. Their personal leadership style and behavior is not adequate to the future that they want to create. And it's tripping them up. It's causing blocks and barriers. In some cases, it's causing stress that is even disabling. And that translates into their personal life in addition to working with their team. So people that are in trouble generally make that phone call to me. It's interesting to me, the people that have reached out to me through my website, that those connections are time stamped. And the number of them that are time stamped between 1 and 3 a.m. is notable.
Interesting. Okay.
They've got a problem that's keeping them awake at night.
Keeping them awake. Yeah.
Yep. And the second type are the ones that look at their future and they have this sense that the future that they want to create far surpasses what they've done before. And they look around them and they say, personally and my team are in fact inadequate to the future we want to create together. And so we need some support. And just like, like I got my notice, maybe you get yours too, every 6 months for the dental cleaning, right? Now,
Sure.
maybe that's an unfortunate metaphor, but
No, but I hear where you're going with that, and I'm such a believer in that, and it's why I want to distinguish who works with you, because I'm such a believer in doing, when I talk to so many different types of coaches or mentors, that people should have a team. There are different reasons to meet with different people, and what makes you, what people need to seek you out for, what what they need you for. And I like that metaphor a lot, actually, because I think that people do need to check in with their dentists, their OBs, their internal
not me,
menace.
not me.
You don't need to do that. But they need to check in
Yeah.
with their executive coaching. And I think it's really interesting what you're noticing in this executive mindset. They're up at night and the person's thinking. Their phone is probably near their bed. They're looking at their calendar. They're going through their day, and they're maybe thinking, we didn't accomplish what we wanted to today or this week or this month.
Well, those are the ideal clients for me, and I love working with them. I see myself. It's perhaps narcissistic. I see myself in them. I've run several companies. I've lived and worked around the world. I have some life experience, and then when I look at them, at their issues, but also their opportunities, and look, I'm working with people that are incredibly talented. I mean, they blow me away with their discipline, with their focus, with their dreams, and it's inspiring to work with them. And hopefully, because of my life experience, I'm able to see some things that they haven't seen, perhaps, and help guide them through those limitations, usually self-imposed, by the way, just like mine were self-imposed in building my companies. That is so much fun for me.
Right.
Yes, it requires a lot of attention, and that's what I give.
Are there, when I think sometimes people don't understand what it means to work weekly, daily with someone like you. What does it look like if I called you and I said, I think I need your help?
Yes. First of all, my former wife, when we had our first baby, I don't remember exactly the issue, but the baby wasn't well, and it's a first baby, and it just freaked her out that our daughter was sick. Yeah. And when she told me the story of going to this pediatrician, and she says, well, this and this and this and this and this, and the pediatrician said, I'm of Lithuanian extraction, heritage, and I love milkshakes. And my former wife said, well, what does that have to do with my daughter? And the pediatrician said, absolutely nothing. And everything you've told me so far has absolutely nothing to do with your daughter's health. And later I learned that with physicians and psychologists, they refer to something called the presenting issue, that people come to them having figured everything out, but it still's not working. I'm that person that kind of holds up the mirror and says, hey, thank you for sharing. But the way you've described it is the presenting issue. Let's dig under that. Let's find out what's really going on with you, with your team, with what you've created here. And let's see if I can help you get through this and on to some joy, some satisfaction, and of course, business results. So that's kind of how I work with people. There are 3 guidelines that I've learned with over 1 million graduates from our personal growth and leadership development seminar work. One is that even very successful people carry around stuff from the past It's like, and it's a burden. That because they're ambitious, because they're focused, they stuff. That's a very technical term, right?
Stop
They
it.
they stuff any blame, shame, regret, guilt, or even past success. They stuff it down inside them, and they persevere and they bust through it. And God loved them, and I admire that so much in them. And of course, I saw that in myself. What's usually missing for them is dealing with those issues in a way that's functional, that really can show up in their life and in their work. And so I work with people to clear those things and get any negative energy off of them. The most famous executive coach that I know of is Marshall Goldsmith. He wrote a great book. Even if you don't read the book, the title is so good that the title will benefit you, which is What Got You Here Will Not Get You There. So living in the past is something we all do it, and I do it, still do it, but it doesn't get you into the future. The second thing is to learn to better tell the truth about your current reality. Really successful people live in a story.
I want you to say that again. What?
Learn to tell the truth about your current reality, whatever that is. And, in a training one day, I've used this example a lot. I was struggling to assist a participant. And so we were talking about it, his relationship with his wife, which was not working. And he was really being right about it, of course. And so I said, well, how is your relationship? And he said, it's great. So current reality for him was clearly not, he was not able to describe it. And until you can describe it, you can't do anything about it. The Buddhists say, I spent more than half of my working life in Asia. And the Buddhists say you have to develop a selfless regard for reality. You have to get your ego, your desire to tell a positive story about yourself, or your desire to tell a negative story about yourself. What's the reality? So I help people see that. And then if you've done those two things, if you've kind of completed your past and learned to tell the truth about where you are, and that includes celebrating your strengths, by the way, then you can choose a future. Your future is not determined by your past, by your education, by your history, by what your mother told you, what this culture tells you is possible. I find that with female executives quite often is that the culture tells them it's not okay to be as good as they are. And so those three things.
We have those moms, don't we?
I was reminded recently that something happened a long time ago in my own little business before I got into training and consulting. I had this little sales business. I made more money in a month than I had made in a year previously. And, I had the big celebration. Then I opened the letter. This was when people wrote letters to each other. It seems like an awfully long time ago. But I opened this letter from my mom and, it said, it's the page one. I always remember this. It was the typical letter from mom. The weather is, fill in the blanks. Your brother did this, your sister did this, I'm battling some arthritis in my hands. And I turned to page 2, and at the top of page 2, it said, have you found a steady job yet? I just had the biggest month I had ever had, and more than I had ever made in a year. But moms are like that. And those kinds of programs are within us. And they're particularly strong within very successful people. So, and they are both empowering in terms of, in my case, it was, I'll never be poor again. I'll show them. That was a big motivator for me. And those kinds of experiences affect different people in different ways. But they generally, because they're driven, because they are smart, because they are ambitious, they kind of push them down and go on. It shows up in hiring. It shows up in firing, unfortunately. It shows up in procrastination. It shows up in a lack of joy and satisfaction from doing great work. And
you have to be a marriage counselor, a psychiatrist, psychologist, all wrapped up into, you know, you have to have a lot of degrees sort of hanging on your wall.
Uh,
And
yeah,
then
and
give,
I'm none of those things, but
right.
I am somebody that's pretty good at noticing what's going on personally and professionally, and taking some action that moves people through that pretty quickly. You know,
Mhm.
if somebody really has an emotional block or a mental block, they need to go see a professional. I'm not that, uh, but I bet it's a cliche, but I've been there and I've done that.
Yeah.
I've worked with a big team of professionals myself, and basically what that brings you is they are a mirror to you or to me of what is next for us in our personal and professional development if we notice.
So
uh,
when you work with a team, I would imagine that normally it's the team leader who seeks you out. Are you then working with the whole team? Because I would imagine that sometimes there can be someone within a team, a player within the team, who can be someone who can be dragging part of it down, or um, the lack of the motivation can be within that structure.
uh,
Um,
yeah, it goes two ways. Sometimes I work with the senior leader, the executive, the CEO, the entrepreneur, and then that generally leads to working with their top team.
mhm,
Uh, and sometimes it's the reverse. I'll work with the team first, and then that senior person will say, I want to talk to you about something personal for me in terms
mm.
of my leadership style or how I'm showing up with my people. So it can go both ways.
So, and I guess I just have a final question. Have you seen this past year, with the pandemic, an uptick, I guess, in stress from at the executive level? And I would imagine you have. And how is that playing out now? Um,
Mm. Good question and timely. What I've seen is that people kind of generally fall into two camps. Some people have been frozen by what's happened over the past year,
mhm,
and uh, and they retreat into old behaviors, attitudes, habits, and behaviors, and they muddle through. And their strength is admirable. By the way, they don't quit. My clients don't quit. That's one thing I can say about all of them is
mhm,
as they persist. Other people have seized it as an opportunity, and 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 some people kind of in between. Uh, People are amazingly resilient, especially
yeah.
at the level of people that I work with. They're incredibly resilient, and
Mhm.
they tend to look at that next problem as, oh, another dragon to slay, another hill to climb.
Well, and I like to ask, as I do these interviews, and as I stated, you're out in Denver area, and I like to ask, because here I am in Michigan, and I like to get a real sense of what's going on also across the country. We can listen to our nightly news and things like that, but I find in talking and sharing people's stories in real time and having that opportunity, you get a real sense of um, the pandemic, how people, that I talk to are real and who are really dealing with executives, or the everyday people, how people are doing and how I think people are truly resilient. My clients have been incredibly resilient. I have the same feeling. They haven't sat still. They've just kept going, and thank God I've been able to help them do that. But and been a cheerleader, I call
Yes.
it, like yourself. But it's nice to talk to you and get an idea of how people, are. I always hate this word a little bit, but they're transitioning and really taking self-care to keep
Yes.
themselves going.
Yes.
Um, so,
And
um,
that self-care piece is unfortunately uh, too often neglected, in my experience. That need to get a massage once a week, to go for that long walk, to pause for a moment and smell the flowers. Those are things that successful people kind of start to lose touch with sometimes.
Well, I think one of the things that's going to be important as we all go back to work or get out of our houses, and it's going to be a little bit of take your lunch outside,
Yes.
a little bit and enjoy, some nice weather, or just it's going to be breathing. And I kind of have said to people like, look, you just handled this. You can handle it. Like
that reminder,
like
that
let's
reminder has a real value.
yeah.
And
Like,
I think being a cheerleader is undervalued, frankly.
well, I definitely I didn't make the cheerleading squad in high school,
Oh.
but I can I don't think I tried out, but I can say that I've spent the last year doing it, and it's been a pleasure, really. I have some great clients, like I know you do. I want to say that you can find Robert White at extraordinarypeople.com. I will say this, that when I saw the name of your website, I wish I had that website name, because you, my friend, what a great PR name right off the bat, because it just says it all about who you're working with. They're very lucky. I ask people, as they listen to this interview, always to share it. Believe me, I do this all the time, where sometimes you hear an interview and you think, well, I don't need this information, but someone does. So please share the information as well. Such a pleasure. I appreciate the time you're spending with me today. You can come back anytime, give us an update about what's going on.
It would be my pleasure. Thanks for welcoming me. Thanks for the exposure to my work. I just got back from 6 years in China, so I'm reconnecting with the US market and getting in front of people that want to live extraordinary lives.
That's fabulous. Well, welcome back to the United States. It's got to be a whole different way of doing things again. So
once again, it's welcome home, stranger. But I'm delighted to be home.
Share updates anytime with me.
My pleasure.
All right. Have a great day, great rest of your week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.